We're in 7 and verse 4, Hebrews 7 and verse 4. Theorete. Theorete.
Is it Theo or Neo?
Theo. Theorete. That's a capital theta, by the way. They. Telikos. Hutos. Ho. Tai. Decatane. Avram. Hidokin. Ek. Tone. Acrosinion. Ho. Patriarchates. Sounds just like a patriarch, doesn't it? That's where our word patriarch came from, right there. All right. Behold. Theo. All right. Ye behold. Second person plural, present, indicative, accurate. In other words, keep on beholding. I want you to understand. And actually, the sentence starts off with a weak adversative conjunction. That they there. In English, in Greek, it's not the first word in the sentence. All right, but in our translation, it says, moreover, or and, ye behold how great, Telikos. All right, that's used one time in the New Testament. Very unusual word. You're not going to find it anyplace else.
If you spell that phonetically, how would you spell it, Jim?
Telikos. Pelikos. All right, Telikos. Pi, the mathematical symbol of pi is just like there. That second one there is an eta, a lambda, iota, kappa, omicron, sigma. The sigma on the end. Now I'm going to tell you something about length right now. All right. How many of you read the preamble to the Constitution? All right. It's printed, if it's original, a copy of it, it's printed in Old English. It's like that. All right? How do you say that?
Congress.
Congress. It's Congress. It's not Congress. This is an S and a final S in English. Greek has a sigma and a final sigma. English, the printing of English books after 1800 were printed with, it would not be Congress, but Congress like this. After 1800, all books before 1800 were printed with the S and the final S, and the S looked like an F, but it was not an F, it was an S. All right? All of your old books, I've got a lot of old histories and everything that are printed in 1700 and before. A lot of them before 1800. After 1800, they changed the print. All right? And there are many, in Hebrew, there are finals also. Several of them. All right? But in Greek, there's a sigma and a sigma. And they're both the same. All right? So there's anybody ever learned this in school? Most people don't know in school. Most of the teachers. I remember when I taught Ken Blinn, he went out to Ohio State College and he shared that with his professor out there. He didn't know that. Anyway, he didn't. He had to learn that. But if you read old books, like I have many old books, and those printed before 1800 are all printed with an S and a final S in English. And it's not two different letters. It doesn't sound different. It's just the same letter printed differently. All right, so there we have it. And as you see it here, as we read in Greek, you will see the sigma and the final sigma. Okay? 7 and verse 4. Behold, moreover, behold how great, Telikos. This one, to whom, all right, this one, that's a demonstrative pronoun, not the singular masculine, by the way, hutos. And we have there, in hutos, all right, this word hutos, we have something like that. Now, in languages, in many languages, there are diphthongs. Diphthongs. I hope you're listening there, Brother Brett.
Oh, I'm writing it down.
You're writing it down. Diphthongs.
Now, what is it?
Diphthongs is something where two letters, usually two vowels, make one sound. See that? All right. That epsilon, ypsilon. And it makes a U sound, purisco. If it's like that, it's purisco. All right? Or it could be for euphony. Okay? Two vowels make one sound. All right? They change. Let's look at a word that come right into English, okay? What's this word? These are two letters that make a single sound, but it's not two vowels. What is this word? Angelos. Angelos. This is like a diphthong. This changes. This first gamma here is alpha, gamma, gamma, epsilon, lambda, omicron, sigma. Okay, angelos. This A-G turns into a A-N and then angelos. That's the way it sounds like that. Okay. We have diphthongs. We have about 8 diphthongs in Greek. And in English, we have many diphthongs in our whole language. 2 letters change, all right? English is kind of a messed up language anyway, really. It's really a mess. There aren't any set rules, hardly. I mean, there are rules, but there's always exceptions to the rules. All right. These are some things here. Now, let's go and look at this. Behold, moreover, behold how great this one to whom, that's dative singular, masculine, that whole there, relative pronoun. The other one was a demonstrative pronoun. What the writer of the book of Hebrews here is he's repeating something to emphasize how powerful this is. Okay? How great this one to whom also a tenth. Decatane. This is the word tithe. If you want to change it, it's actually tithe. All right, it means tenth, but it's actually tithe. The tithe. These next few verses is where we have the tithing instituted in the New Testament. All right. A lot of people say it's not there, but here it is. All right. To whom also the tithe of the tenth, Abram. All right. Abram, he gave. All right. Third person singular, first aorist, indicative active. That word, idoken, comes from didomi. All right. Didomi. First person singular, first aorist. First aorist. Aorist tense in Greek. All right. Aorist. A-O-R-I-S-T. The aorist tense in Greek, there are 2 tenses in aorist. There are, well, actually more than that, the first and second aorist. All right. 2 tense, aorist. First aorist and second aorist. This one's first aorist. Okay? The aorist tense in Greek is punctiliar action. What do we mean by punctiliar?
There's more than one?
It means it's very pointed in action. Very pointed. It's instant. It's a period, a point of time. A very sharp point of time. First aorist. Second aorist is more like this. But it is a point of time also, but it's a little more durative. Okay?
So, Jim, would you say that our salvation is aorist?
Aorist tense. That's right. And once you've been done, it is perfect tense. It's completed. All right? And when you see it, you'll see that also. He gave the tenth, Abraham, out of the ek. Look at that word ek there. It's just like the word exit right up there. That's where the exit came from. Out of the plural spoils. All right. This word spoils here, it comes from the Septuagint. It's a very rare word also. And it means sacred tip. Literally. Sacred tip. The sacred tip.
What's the booty mean?
Huh?
The spoiled booty? What is that?
Booty. All right. When you now this word is old word. Okay. Get rid of some of this up here. I'm getting too many things up on the deal up here. You go in and you ravage the city. Okay? In the ancient times, they would throw a pile of goods out there, booty, right out there. Okay? And the best stuff was right up here, right on top. If there was leather goods, whatever, you know, all the different kind of stuff that's just stuff, right here. But the gold, the silver, the jewels, the crowns, all of this best stuff is right on top of the pile. All right? Right on top of the pile. Now, in the pagan culture, when they went in and they conquered the city, if God gave them the victory, well, I shouldn't say God. I would say God like this, little God. Okay? Because they believed in many gods. If their God gave them the victory, they would go out there and they put all the stuff up, just a pile just like that, and then they take the sacred tip and they dedicate that to the temple. All right? Let me give you a word. Anathema. This is where this word comes from. Anathema. Anathema. All right? Anathema. That word comes from the history of this very thing right here. When you, in a pagan temple now, when you go in the pagan temple and you would take some of the sacred stuff here, sacred tip, it comes from the word akros, which means sharp point, and theme. Akros and theme. That's what this word comes from here, this akrotheno. All right? The word theme there, you can't find that in any Greek lexicon at all unless you go to Liddell and Scott. It's a very rare word. Okay? And you can look it up in Liddell and Scott on page 801. All right? And you can find this word in the Septuagint. Look it up on page 14 in your analytical lexicon. Now this word anathema, when they would go to... Got to turn my microphone on. That didn't work too well. I'm getting to know one of them anyway. When they would go and take this sacred, the top of the pile, in and give it to the gods, that's what you would call, they would take it, and in a pagan temple, they would place it upon the wall. Anathema. Ana means up, thema, to place upon the wall. Once you dedicated it to a god in a sacred temple, you could never redeem it. You couldn't get it back. It was unredeemable. Our word in English, from the Greek, anathema, it means cursed. Because once you had dedicated it to the pagan temple, you couldn't get it back at all. You couldn't have it back. All right? Now, the writer of the book of Hebrews uses this term, this akrotheno. All right? The word God basically comes out of this type of word right here, the sacred. The sacred tip. Now it says Abraham tied to whom? Abraham the patriarch. Ho patriarches. All right? Patriarches. Mishpatha pasta in Hebrew. The father of the family. He was the head. He was the leader. All right? It's patria in Greek. One time I wrote a letter to my friend, my Greek friend. His name is Photios Kyriakos. And I said, postone, Photios Kyriakos, pi, patria. I wrote that on a note when he came to my house, and he had another Greek guy with him. And the Greek guy looked at it. He said, he wrote that wrong. That's what he said. He wrote that wrong. And Foley looked at him and he said, he knows the Greek. You don't understand it. That's the old word for family. And it means the head of the family. I was giving him honor as being Photios, Kyriakos, and family, the head of the family. All right? And he said, see there, he knows that old Greek. It would be a different term. In Greek, we talk about different families and everything else, but here it's patria, okay, in the old Greek. In Hebrew, it's meshpachah, all right? Meshpachah. It means the family, all right? And in Latin, what is it? What is it in Latin?
Familia?
Huh? Pater familia. Pater familia. The head of the family, all right? Now, the writer of Hebrews tells us that he is so much greater than the Old Testament high priest. Okay? What happened? Let's just look at the Day of Atonement, okay? One time in the history of the Hebrew people, the Jewish people, the Day of Atonement. We have a high priest. They only had one high priest at a time, and they had to appoint a new high priest. Why? Why did they have to appoint a new high priest?
The old one died.
Well, the old one would die or retire. They didn't last very long. You know, they only last so long. Nations last for hundreds of years, and Israel lasts for thousands of years, and they had to have many high priests. But this one here, it says he's much greater. How much greater this one is than Abraham and all the high priests it's talking about, because Jesus is a high priest after the order of what? Melchizedek, which means what? How was it translated? Huh? King of righteousness. All right? King of righteousness, or king of sacred, holy things. All right? Holy things. King of holy things.
Jim.
Yes.
But sacred, does that mean that they hold on to it with extreme value, or?
Yeah. Well, in our times, today, we're going to get into this a little bit. But the Lord tells the Old Testament, all the Old Testament saints, it even went back to the Garden of Eden. Okay? If you go back into the Hebrew language in the Garden of Eden, what was wrong with Cain? What did Cain do wrong?
Murdered?
The offering.
His offering.
He brought the wrong offering and the wrong amount.
Oh, okay.
He brought the wrong offering and the wrong amount. He brought the wrong offering because he didn't bring enough. And he brought, his offering was from a cursed earth. It was a cursed offering from a cursed earth. All right? Always, a sin offering has, blood has to be shed. Okay? Let's talk about the high priest in the Old Testament now. Here we have the Day of Atonement. The priest, he had beautiful, the high priest had very beautiful, colorful, and we're going to see this on Sunday morning. This next Sunday, I think we're going to get into the seven feasts of Israel, and we're going to see the garments of the high priest. The high priest, the first time he had to go out there, he put on white garments, just like the other priests. On the Day of Atonement, the first thing he had to make atonement for was what? For himself and his family. So he went out there and he would slay a bullock. All right, he would put his hands on the bullock. He would confess his sins, transfer his sins on the top of the bull, and bull thought he's being petted. Animals like to be petted too. They do. You know that. And then he'd lift his head up with a sharp knife and cut his throat. Could kill him. They would catch the blood, they would put it up full to the altar, and they would put some on the horns of the altar. Then he would carry some into the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle. The tabernacle up there, he'd go through the first room, going into the Holy of Holies. The first time he went into the Holy of Holies, he went in there for himself, for his own sins. Okay? And every time he went in there, he had to take a rope, have it tied on his feet. And just in case he died in there, because he had to confess all of his sins. They had to drag him out because they couldn't go after him. Okay? Then he'd have to go back out there, and they'd bring two goats. 2 goats. They had to be 2 boy goats, and they had to be twins, just like twins. They had to look exactly alike. 2 goats. He'd bring up 2 goats, and they would confess their sins on the heads of both goats. These are 2 little bitty goats, and they look just like, one looks just like the other. All right? Now he had his high priest garments on, because now his sins were forgiven. Now he is an intercessor, the mediator, for the sins of all of Israel. All right? So he confesses all of Israel's sins on the head of one goat and on the head of the other goat. Both of them are carrying the sins of all the people. And then what did they do? What happened? They cast lots over the head of the goat. I don't know how they did it, but they cast lots, stones or whatever. They shook them like rolling dice or something, and they found out which one was the scapegoat and which one was the goat that would die. Okay? And one of them got to go free. And one of them had to have his throat cut. And they would take the blood again and offer it. He would go in there this time and make an offering for all the people. But now what about the scapegoat? What about the one that got away? What would they do to the scapegoat? They'd take him out in the wilderness. All right, the wilderness. Azazel. All right, the wilderness. Azazel. The wilderness was considered the abode of Satan and all of his imps and all his demons. Okay? Think about it.
Now say it again.
The wilderness, the desert, at Ramu, the desert, the wilderness, Azazel, it was considered the abode of fallen angels and demons. It was a desolate place. All right? Now, when Jesus, when he was tempted, where did he go? In the wilderness, in the abode of Satan. He went out there in the abode of Satan, and he got along with all animals, didn't he? Because he created all of them. Animals don't argue with God. We argue with God. Okay? Now, he went out there, and they take this goat. Now, you'd say that goat got by without getting killed. Huh. One of them got away. When Jesus was going to be crucified, Pilate knew that Jesus was not guilty. How many of you ever read Pilate's letter?
One of them got away.
Huh?
They let one go.
Pilate's letter.
Oh, forever.
He declared Jesus to be innocent 5 times. And then when after he had him scourged, almost beat to death now, I'm going to tell you another thing. The animals in the Old Testament, have you ever heard of a kosher slaughterhouse? That's where they kill the animals as painlessly as they can. I mean, animals die, and there's pain in dying. That's it. They're not going to get by without dying. In the slaughterhouses that we have today, it's horrible. They're too cheap to kill them. They slaughter them while they're still alive. What they do is they stick an electric probe on their head and shock them and knock them about half nuts and then start butchering them. They don't even shoot them anymore or knock them in the head. The kosher slaughterhouses, they cut their throats. And they'll cut their jugular veins so no blood goes to the brain and the brain goes out. I mean, right now, that's the way. That's the way the animals work. But now, this is a brutal sounding thing, but we need to look at this. How would you like every year, on the day of Yom Kippur, on the Day of Atonement, have to take an animal and have it die for you? Every year. The Bible says one time Jesus made an offering of himself. But let's look at the offering now, and we're going to go back to the scapegoat too. Jesus wasn't killed painlessly, was he? The worst pain in the world that you could have. Not only that, but Pilate wanted to turn him loose. He had him beat almost to death before he was crucified. So maybe they will have mercy on him. And then he said, you guys have a feast. The scapegoat was supposed to be set free. They would turn prisoners loose. They would always turn an animal free. Okay? On that day. And they would turn a prisoner loose a lot of times. Who shall I turn loose? And what did they scream?
Barabbas.
Barabbas. What does Barabbas mean? What does Barabbas mean?
Father of son of the Father.
Son of the Father. Son of the Father. Who was his father?
Satan.
Satan. He was set free, wasn't he? He was the scapegoat. But I want you to think about it. Jesus couldn't have been set free. Jesus was the sacrifice. They would take the scapegoat out into the wilderness. Way out in the wilderness. Now, I'm going to tell you something. If your sins were put on an animal's head, now all the sins of Israel were put on the one animal, and he was butchered. He was killed. All right? You had all of the sins, all the same sins were confessed upon the scapegoat. And they said, take that scapegoat out in the wilderness to where he can't find his way back. He can't find his way back, because if he found his way back, guess what? Your sins come back home. Now Barabbas, the son of the Father, we say it's like us. As far as we know, Barabbas was never saved. His sins remained upon him like the scapegoat. That goat was cursed. He was cursed. Even though we're saved today, our flesh, the veil of our flesh, still we die, don't we? That holds us. That is a veil between us and God. We have to lay it down before we can go see God. All right? That scapegoat, they would take that scapegoat to a high mountain, and they would push him off the cliff so he would fall and die instantly when he hit the ground, because they didn't want their sins to come back. And that scapegoat had the sins of Israel on it also. It had the sins of Israel on it also. As far as we know, Barabbas, son of the Father, died in his sins. He died in his sins. Let's go on now. Prothenon. What does that mean? The sacred tip, the top of the pie. That the word anathema, what does it mean? It means the place upon the wall where it cannot be redeemed. Okay? It cannot be redeemed. Just think about that for a while. All right? Think about it.
This sacred tip, Jim.
Sacred tip.
Spell that one out phonetically for me.
Akros, okay. Akros and thin. I have it right here. Akros and thin. The sacred point. The point sacred. Okay?
Akros, Sakin.
And thin. Thin.
Thin.
Thin. And actually the way it is, you'd have to put an E on the end of it in English, so it would be thin instead of thin.
Akros, Sakin.
Akros and thin.
Akros and thin.
All right, 7 and 5A. 7 and 5A. Do you have all that down? Kai. That's an easy one, isn't it? Koi. Man. Ek. Tone. Wheel. Louis. All right, Tame. Era. Teon. Lampanontes. Intolane. Exusen. Apodectone. Tone. Laon. Kata. Tone. Nomon. Toot. Estin. Tus. Adelphus. Alton. Caper. Ex-e-le-li-to-tos. That's a long word. Ek. Tes. Os. So, theos. Osteos. All right. Abram. There's some interesting words in here. Some of them make you blush, but that's the way it is. All right. And to the ones indeed out of the sons of Levi. All right. To the ones, that is a practical substantive there. It's the. That's plural, all right? That's a plural definite article. Indeed, that's a particle of affirmation. Indeed, are on the one hand out of the sons of Levi. Then it says the priesthood. Now this word for priesthood here, hareteon, that's used 2 times in the New Testament. In Luke 1 and 9, and right here. Luke 1 and 9, and right here. Then it says receiving. Receiving the commandments. All right? Lambon ontes. Nominative plural masculine, present participle active, that comes from lambono. And then we can put the definite article as a practical substance. We can put down there tain and telane. It's understood. The commandments. We're talking about the 10 words, aren't we? The commandments of God. And it says they have, third person plural, present, indicative, active. They have to receive tithes. They have the ability to, or the law to receive tithes. Apodecton. All right? Present, infinitive, active. Now they always receive tithes. The priest did. And it says the people, according to the law. Ton nomo. This is a word. We got a word name out of this law. Now, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it enough times where you remember. All right? The word name, your name is your name. You have a legal name. All right? Bill, what is your legal name?
I'll tell you my first one, Billy.
Okay.
Rekata.
Billy Harold.
Oh, man.
Billy Harold Hawkins. That's your legal name, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you may not like it. Mine's James Monroe Phillips V.
What is it?
James Monroe Phillips V. That's my legal name. Believe it or not. Okay. That's what's on my birth certificate.
James Monroe? That's a
James Monroe. You know, Indians, they named their kids after presidents. You know, they tried to be part of the, they were like teenagers. You know, teenagers want to all look alike. Well, Indians, they wanted to act like the white people, so they named their kids after presidents, you know. All right, the law. According to law, when you sign a piece of paper with your nomos, your name, that's law. You put your name down, and you got to do whatever it says there. Okay. And law, and this is the brothers of them. All right, they are their brothers, but they're going to have to pay them. The Levites, if you look around that tabernacle over there on the wall, a picture of it, the ones close around there were the Levites. When they went into the Promised Land, what did the Levites get? What did they get? How much land did the Levites get when they went into the land? Nothing. They had no inheritance. But the people supported them. When they bring the sacrifices up there, and I want to emphasize this also, until Israel came into the land of Canaan, nobody could go out there and kill a goat or a sheep or a cow or anything at home. Did you know that? They couldn't do that at home. They could not do it. They could not butcher a cow on the farm. No. Of course, they were around, you know, they were moving around, they were whatever, but they had different sections where they were in. You know, they were camped around the tabernacle. Okay? All the time they were camped around the tabernacle in the wilderness of Sinai, or out in that area. They could not kill a lamb, a goat, or sheep, cow, whatever at home. They couldn't do it.
They couldn't kill it either.
They couldn't kill it at home. Because God said the animal's soul was in its blood. If you respect that animal, I'm going to make sure you mercifully kill that animal. You bring it to the tabernacle. If you're going to eat this, you're going to bring this animal to the tabernacle, and you are going to, every time an animal shed its blood, its life, its soul was given for you. And what do? When they kill, they brought every animal they were going to kill, they brought it right there. They would cut its throat, and they would take the blood in, put it in front of the altar, put it along the horns of the altar, and they would take the animal and butcher it right there, and they would take the fat from around the entrails of it and put it on the altar. And they would take the blood and they would bury it. Bury the blood. You were burying the soul of that animal.
Jim, what is that portion?
What?
What is that portion?
Well, for one thing, it burned. Fat burns, though. If you've got a barbecue pit, you've got a marble steak or something, it's going to catch on fire and get very hot. So fat burns. The fat in the meat itself, the marble fat in the meat, you could eat. But in the insides, around the intestines, around the heart, around the liver, and all that area in there, you couldn't eat any of that. That all was taken out, and that was put on the altar to God. Every animal that died, it was shedding its life's blood, its soul for you. They could not kill them. After they came into the Canaan land, they couldn't bring their animals for many, many miles and have them all slaughtered there by the tabernacle. So they allowed them to do that, but still they had to kill them kosher, and they had to bury the blood. The pagans would drink the blood. And God said, you will not disgrace, you will not humiliate my animals by drinking their life. I love them too. You're not going to do that. So they would give their blood, their life, they buried them. They ate their bodies, the meat, they used bones, all the different kind of stuff, but they had to bury the blood. They could not have it. All right. How many of you learned something of this stuff tonight? You learned something? All right. It's important. All right. All right. The law. And this is the ones brothers of them. And then Typer comes from pyre and peri. It means and around. Having come forth. All right. Having come forth. X-L-A li thon tho tos. That is. It comes from X and erkamai. Accusative plural masculine. And this is perfect participle active. It's a continuous saying there for a while. That's the aorist. It's gerund in English. Okay. Having come forth. This completed action now. Out of the theos of Abraham. It's going to explain this in a few minutes. Now, all of these came out of the loins of Abraham. The word is not really loins. It's testicles. That's what it is. The organ of reproduction is what it's talking about. That word is duel. If a woman has one ovary, if a man has one testicle, they usually can't have children then. Sometimes, but very seldom. Because it's a unit. A unit. The testicles are looked at as a unit. Duel. Two. They're singular, duel, and plural in Greek. All right? And here we have an old dual word. All right? It's osteos. All right? That's it. The male reproductive organs is what it's talking about as a unit. All right?
Osteos?
What?
What's osteos?
Osteos. All right? Osteos. 7 and verse 6 now. Let's go on. See what it's talking about. There's some pretty neat stuff in here that you don't think about very often. 7 and 6. Ho, de, me, genealogumenos. Ek, auton, dideka token, Abraham, Kai, Ton, Ekonta, Tas, Epangelios, Eulo, Gaten. All right. But the one not having a genealogy. Who's that?
The devil? You said not having, right?
Well, he was the first one, I'll tell you. Let's put it that way. The one not having a genealogy, we're talking about Melchizedek, the king of righteousness, okay? Out of them he has tithes of Abraham. Melchizedek received tithes from Abraham. And the one having the promises, he has blessed. All right? The one having the promises, he has blessed. Now, if you look in Genesis 12, 3 and 7, 13, 14, 15 and 5, 17 and 5, and 22, 16 through 18, in the Old Testament, if you go back here, who's got an Old Testament?
Bill.
Huh? Bill, you have an Old Testament? Go to Genesis 12, 3 and 7. Genesis, go back to the book of Genesis. Genesis 12.
12, 3, and 7.
Yeah, Genesis 12. This is where the promises go back
I
to
will
now.
bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken to him.
Okay, now jump on to 7.
Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your descendants I will give this land. And there he built an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him.
All right. First of all, 12 and 3 said, I will bless those who bless you. Now this is the blessing that God gave to Abraham, okay? This blessing that God gave to Abraham. I will bless you, those who bless you, and and the one who curses you, I will curse. Anathema. All right? And in the families of the earth, all right? And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. How's that? Galatians 3 and 8. Galatians 3 and 8, New Testament. Galatians 3 and 8. Let's trace this and look at the promises that God made to Abraham. Galatians 3 and 8. Are you over there, Brother Bill? Or are you there, Rebecca?
Yeah.
Okay, Rebecca.
3 and 8. And the scripture, foreseeing that God would justify the nations by faith, preached the gospel to Abraham beforehand, saying, in you all the nations shall be blessed.
All right. God is preaching the gospel to Abraham right here in Genesis, the 12th chapter. That's what the New Testament says, isn't it? He said, in you shall all the families of the earth be blessed, in his seed, singular, in one. All right? And then verse 7 says, and the Lord appeared to Abraham and says, to your descendants I will give this land. So he built an altar there. Every time you see the word altar, it means monument. A monument. It was a standing, and if you look in the Old Testament, it'll say, until this day, until the writing of this book, it was that altar was there, that monument was there. This is a monument, all right, that Abraham built to the promise that he had. Now let's go a little bit further. 13 and verse 14. Go over to the next chapter, 13 and verse 14.
Can we read again?
Yeah, Brother Bill.
And the Lord said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, lift up your eyes now and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward.
Verse 15.
For all the land which you see, I give to you and your descendants forever.
Go on.
And I will make your descendants as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could number the dust of the earth, then your descendants also could be numbered. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you. Then Abram moved his tents and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees
Okay, the live oak trees.
of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to the Lord.
He built what?
A
monument. The word name, Shem, monument, there's a lot. The descendants of Shem was a monument, a name for God. All right? Now let's go a little further. 15. Go over to chapter 15.
Chapter 15 of what?
15 and verse 5.
Galatians?
Yep.
Galatians or Genesis?
The book of Genesis.
You want me to read?
Rebecca, are you there?
Yeah. Then he brought him outside and said, Look now toward heaven and count the stars if you are able to number them. And he said to him, So shall your descendants be.
And then verse 6.
And he believed in the Lord, and he accounted it to him for righteousness.
All right, Galatians 3 and 6 and Romans 4 and 3 tell you the same thing if you want to write these cross-references down, okay? Now go to the 17th chapter. When you read something out of the Bible, it really does mean something always tied together. It's not just separate, okay? I want you to understand that. Okay, 17 and verse number 5. Well, actually, go back up to verse 4. Are you there, Rebecca?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations.
Now, Abram meant what?
Father of
Abram. What?
Abram.
Abram.
Exalted father.
Exalted father. Abram. Uplifted father. Abba is the word for father, okay? That goes all the way back into Persian again. When a baby, that little baby right over there, Noah, he's making little noises over there right now. But the first noises that a child would make would be like blah, 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 blah. And they said he's calling for his daddy. Abba, Abba. Okay? So that's what the root of the name Abraham is Abba, father, okay? Abram means exalted father, and Abraham means exalted father of many, of a multitude. Okay? All right. Let's go on a little further now. 22nd chapter of the book of Genesis. Go to chapter 22. Genesis 22 and verses 16. Verses 16. Brother Randall, are you there? Genesis 22, verse 16.
And said, By myself I have sworn, declares the Lord, because you have done this thing and have not withheld your son, your only son.
Yep, that's right.
Indeed, I will greatly bless you, and I will greatly multiply your seed as the stars of the heavens, and as the sand which is on the seashore. And your seed shall possess the gate of their enemies.
Now, verse 18 is very important. Circle this, put red on it, do something. Okay? Put a cross by it.
In your seed, all the
Singular. In your seed, not seeds. Who is this talking about? Galatians 3 and 8. All right? And Romans also. Go ahead, brother.
In your seed, all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice.
All right. Boy, the night has flown by tonight. These are the promises of Abraham. These are the promises that God made, the repeated promises of Abraham. All right? Repeated promises. And then said, he has blessed. All right? God blessed Abraham. Now, the greater always blesses the what?
Weaker.
The lesser, or the weaker. All right? So, when Abraham met Melchizedek, Melchizedek was a type of Christ to come. I don't think he was really him. I mean, a lot of people say that, but I know he's a type. We know that. There's no lineage in the book of Genesis that tells you anything about Melchizedek at all. Period. Nothing. He just existed. There's no lineage when he began. There's no lineage when he died. It was like he was eternal, like Jesus is. John 1 and 1. We looked at John 1 and 1 last week. In beginning, singular. The utmost, furthest back period of time, no, singular. Kept on being the Jehovah when God only existed. All right? That's the eternal one, isn't it? All right? Now, a seed, the seed. Now, in the New Testament, there are two genealogies of Jesus. You remember we talked about them. What books are they in? Matthew, Automathion, all right? And the book of Matthew gives the lineage of Jesus, but through whom? Joseph. Thank you. You've been listening. All right. Joseph. That is his kingly lineage. Matthew, if you look at the 4 flags around Israel, I gave you some of those. Did I give them to you last week? No? Yes? See? I don't know. No? Here they are right here. If you get one of these, it's the only one in existence because nobody else has ever made one, as far as I know. All right. Rebecca, do you have one of these
I'll take one, Jim.
from the past? Show it on the camera also. The flags of Israel, how Israel was captured on. I made this, drew it up by hand. Oh, the last one I got.
I'll take one of those too.
All right.
I think I got one that we did.
All right. I don't even have one. Anyway, if you look over there, where the lion is, that's the lion of the tribe of Judah. See that? That's Matthew. The Gospel of Matthew looks at Christ as the lion of the tribe of Judah. And look at the 4 flags there. There's a lion. What else is there?
The guy's head.
A guy's head. All right. Which Gospel looked at Jesus as the Son of mankind? The Son of Man.
What's that?
Luke. Luke on. All right. The Gospel according to Luke. Now look on again. Let's look at another one. How about the eagle? Eagle.
Freedom.
Eagle represents what?
Freedom.
Deity.
Deity.
Closest to heaven. All right. Which Gospel gave Jesus as the eternal God?
John.
The Gospel according to John. All right. Now what's the other flag there? What's it got on it?
Steer.
Calf.
Or calf.
A calf. A beast of burden. Who was our servant? Mark gives Jesus as a servant. So you write those 4 Gospels there, all right? There they are. That's the 4 Gospels. Our promises, the promises.
Excuse me, Jim.
Yes.
The eagle, you had deity, but what book would that be?
John.
John.
The Gospel of John. All right? So you have this, all of these 4 things. The book of Luke now, the book of Luke, the Son of Man, gives Jesus' lineage through Mary, the seed of the woman, Genesis 3:15. In Enoch's writings, in the book of Enoch, he always calls the Messiah the what? The Son of Woman. The Son of Woman. The sin nature is not passed on by the woman, it's passed on by the man. As in Adam, all die. As in Christ, are all made alive. Jesus had no sin nature in him because he had no father to pass it on to him. No. All right? No earthly father at all. But he could be related to us. John 1. Jehovah means what? He who shall become. Where is the fulfillment title in the New Testament of the Jehovah title? The Jehovah name. What verse in the New Testament is a fulfillment of it? Directly. Kai hologo sarx agento. What verse is that?
It's in the, I thought it was 3 or something.
What is it? Kai hologo sarx agento. What verse? Huh?
John
1:14. Kai and the Jehovah, or the word, flesh, he became. Simple as that. So here we have our Redeemer. We have the scapegoat. We have every animal that ever shed his blood in the Old Testament was a type of our Messiah. But Jesus didn't shed his blood easily. He was not killed mercifully. He was killed mercifulness. All right? Whole different story. 7 and verse 6. But the one not having a genealogy out of them, he has ties of Abraham. And the one having the promises, he has been blessed. The more powerful, the stronger, or the mightier always blesses the inferior. All right. 7 and verse 7. 7 and verse 7. I think that's about all far as we're going to get tonight. Choris. Day. Passes. Antilogios.
Antilogios.
All right. To.
To.
Elaton.
Elaton.
Hypo. To. Kratos. Eulogete. This is kind of like the finish of the other verse. Outside of any logic. In other words, doesn't it tell you the most simple thing? Outside of any logic. It says charis, outside of, and outside of any passes, adjective, any. Antilogios. Anti-logic. All right? Against logic. Any contradiction. There is no contradiction. The lesser by the greater is blessed. The lesser, that is a comparative. Elaton. Hypo, by the agency of the better or greater, he is blessed. Third person singular, present, indicative, passive. He is being blessed. So who blessed who? All right. Now I'm going to tell you something else here. We're going to get into this a little bit next week. We're going to start on 7 and 8 next week. What is this, the 28th?
7.
Yeah. 28.
28?
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, James. I've been wrong all day long.
Okay.
I've been wrong for 40 years, man.
Can you bless your children by you tithing?
Yes.
Can you bless your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren?
Yes.
By you tithing and you serving the Lord?
Yes.
Absolutely. That's exactly what's going to be brought up here. For hundreds of years, your children can be blessed because of what you do today. Can you curse your children?
Yes.
You can curse your children. To how many generations, the Bible says?
7.
7. And sometimes to 1,000 generations. In other words, forever. What do you think the Canaanites did for their children? Cursed them. How old is the Muslim faith?
Well,
How old is the Muslim faith? When did Mohammed live?
I thought it was
From 500 and something AD, so just past 600 AD. Okay?
Right. Mhm.
How many people has that man cursed?
How many is he sent to hell?
How many has he cursed? For how many years? How many years is that?
About 1,600.
Think about it. That's a long, long time.
But didn't Abraham help him though?
Huh?
Didn't Abraham give him?
Now, how long are you grafted into the promises of Abraham?
Forever.
Now, are they grafted into the promise of Abraham?
Only financially.
Only physically. That's the sand of the sea. Are they Abraham's children?
Yeah.
Did Abraham sin? Did Abraham's sin affect them? Did Abraham's sin affect those people? Did Abraham's sin affect the promised children?
Yes.
Is Abraham's sin affecting the promised children today?
Yes.
Are the cursed children, the children of the bondwoman, are they still cursed today? Now it doesn't say that an Arab. There are saved Arabs. Did you know that? There are Christian Arabs. There are. We got an Arabic church here. They're being blessed because they're grafted into the promises, the other side of the promises of Abraham. We have the children of the bondwoman, and we have the children of the free woman. We're bonded in, we're grafted in to that branch because we believe in Jesus Christ. Anybody can believe in Jesus Christ and be saved and go on to be with the Lord. But can you curse your children? Did Abraham's sin curse his children? Did his faithfulness bless his children? Just think about that for a while. What kind of legacy do you want to give to your children? Your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren? Think
You
about
can
it.
break those curses.
Huh?
You can break the curses.
You can't.
That's right.
Through Christ. There are saved Arabs today. Many, many, many of them. Most of them are cursed. But you can walk away. How about those children? Even the Jewish people today. There are a lot of Jews. Most Jewish people today are cursed in believing because they don't believe in the Messiah. They missed the boat.
But there are those Jews that...
And there are Messianic Jews. Now God, in the end of the tribulation period, in the end, He is going to bless all of them that are left. They're all going to be born into the day. By the way, I'm teaching Greek on Sunday afternoon, too, from the book of Revelation. And the church is my doctor's thesis, which is the book of Revelation. It's linear. It's big. All right? Some of you have seen that one. But they're going to print it, and I'll be teaching that. I'm teaching that on Sunday afternoon at 4:30 in the same classroom. If you want to come and listen to that class also, so you get a little more Greek and more Bible.
What's it about again, Jim?
What?
What was it about again?
On Sunday afternoon at 4:30, I'm teaching the book of Revelation from Greek.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Earlier?
No, the church is printing it.
And the church is printing my doctor's
I could
thesis.
get it one time. It was great. Yeah,
Well, it cost me $75 to get that book printed.
Yeah.
Just copy.
That's
Okay,
the first
just
day of the
copy.
class?
Huh?
That's the first day of the class?
And I think it's going to cost you, if you want a copy of it. Now, if you're in that class, you're signed up for $15. You take the class, okay? And once you sign up, it goes on and on. After 21 weeks or something like that, you just re-sign up and everything. But if you want a copy of that big, thick book, it's an interlinear and commentary on the book of Revelation, okay? And it was my doctor's thesis for Doctor of Bible Languages. And if you want that, I think it's going to cost $15 or $20, which is going to be a whale of a deal. It's a whole lot cheaper than you can go off and have a copy.
Is it just in Greek?
It's Greek and English. It is an interlinear Greek and English translation with all of the grammatical studies in there, the cross references, everything you can think of, just like what you've got here. See, this one, the church printed this one. This is the book of Hebrews. All right, I translated and wrote a commentary on all of the books in the New Testament, all of them.
Is it going to be typed or is it just...
It's going to be, part of it's typed, and part of it's just like it is, it's got to be in Greek. At the time that I did this, you couldn't get printing like that. It was just very hard to do. Okay,
I took the
thousands of
class on
dollars.
before, and it's great.
Anyway, it's just like you're seeing right here, except a lot of the front of it is, there's quite a bit of it that is printed and typed. And then when I started doing that, they just said at the seminary, forget that. It's valuable what's in there, and you cannot do that. So just turn it in like that. Turn what you got in there and turn the rest of it in. Because no one had ever done this. All right? And anyway, I did an interlinear and commentary on all the New Testament, all of them. So all of them are available. And the church has printed a lot of them that I've done. I've done the Gospel of John here and the Book of Revelation from Greek, James. I'm finishing Hebrews now. I did 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, Jude, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, Colossians, and Ephesians. So all those books the church has printed and handed out to the class. But the Book of Revelation is so thick that they just couldn't do it because they would be going in the hole to, for the price of the class. And some people may not be able to afford it, so they're still going to make the classes only $15 to take it. All right.
Can you just order one and pay you for it?
I'll have them in the classroom, and you can just, I'll give it to you.
We can't leave it on Sunday, but I'd love to have a copy of it.
Okay. Well, I can get one for you. I'll have them in here. There'll be a few copies in here.
And you check out to you or Valley?
To Valley. Yeah.
Is that the one where the lady typed them for you, or the guy typed them for you, Jim, or something? I'm thinking one of your books that you wrote.
Well, my grammar, the Greek grammar. By the way, I have a Greek grammar for you tonight.
Yeah, somebody.
I've printed some more for me.
I got one of your books where somebody.
The Greek
typed
grammar.
Is that the Greek grammar?
The Greek
typed
grammar.
it out?
One of my students typed it out. It was all handwritten.
Yeah.
Even actually, the Doctrines of the Bible. The one that I wrote, the book, Doctrines of the Bible, it was typed out, but it was just loose-leaf sheets that I taught in classes. And a guy typeset all of that book for me and give it to me as a Christmas present one year. Said, here. His name was Smith, I remember it. Anyway, when I was teaching in a church in near Taft. Well, we run over a little bit tonight. I hope you've enjoyed God's study from His Word today. And it was a good study. I really enjoyed preparing it for you, Brother Bill.
People want to go, I got a question I got to have answered, Jim. Somebody snickered at me.
Well, then spit it out, Bill.
Where does it talk about in the Bible, and I know I've read it before, where God brings the Jews home?
That's it. That's the regathering of Israel right there, Bill. See that where it says the regathering of Israel?
He's talking about Petra.
Ezekiel 38. Ezekiel 36, 20 through 24.
Ezekiel.
Right. Just look at your little map up there. As a matter of fact, almost any question you can ask is on this map. Look at all the scriptures up there.
I'm not seeing good tonight. Jim, tell me Ezekiel. Where you
right here.
Oh, right there.
Right there.
I
The
got
regathering
that
of Israel.
So
See where
that's it.
Israel is dispersed, and then the regathering of Israel. All right? Okay.
That's the Petra, huh, when they all leave.
They will run to Petra. He said, flee to the city of rocks. That means Petra. Petra is rock.
That's a real place. It's carved out of stone. And
Yeah, I've got pictures of that. You have to ride in there on a horse.
And all the, exactly, all the Arabs will take over Jerusalem, right? And
Well,
then,
the Antichrist is going to be there.
and then there'll be a financial hardship, and they'll leave, right? Because there'll be plague, right?
The Lord said when you see all this taking place and the Antichrist standing in the temple area, He said, get out of here and flee. The road, what they call the roadway of the rooftops. All right, get out of here. If you're on top of your rooftop,
Jump
on the patio, don't go in the house. Jump off the house and take off. Don't go through the door. Just get out of here. Leave fast.
Here's a question that goes along with our lesson for tonight. I once heard somebody teaching that God will always deliver the enemies of His people to those whom they fear the most. Is that actually found in the Bible, or is that just derived from the way?
I think it's probably derived from it. Because I don't remember getting that any place.
I'm not, no, I think you know.
All right. Okay. Are we ready to go? Brother Bill, are you ready to
I'm
go?
ready to go.
Would you just listen in prayer, please, brother?
Lord, we just thank you so much for this opportunity to be in your house again, Lord, and for the blessings you've given us this week. And